Hello and welcome to Dedicated Dentist 32 Reasons Why. Make sure you share, like, and subscribe. So, without further ado, let's get into the video. So today we'll talk about the development of mandible, prenatal and postnatal development, as this is a requested video. Yes, you get a lot of question on LAQ on the development of mandible. It is more frequently asked and is very important. So we'll see the prenatal development. In that we see the Meckel's cartilage, we see condylar development, some basic terminologies or terms associated with mandible. Then we'll see the postnatal growth of the mandible. In that we see the development of ramus, remodeling occurring on ramus, corpus or body of mandible, the alveolar process, the lingual tuberosity, and the uprighting of ramus, which is very important, condyle, coronoid, and Loews-V principle. So chin and coronoid, yes. So we'll discuss everything in detail. So if you present in paper your answer sheet how I have presented, then you will fetch good marks. Draw diagrams like I said, examiner's attention you can fetch in paper through the diagrams. So draw as many diagrams as possible. That will really fetch the examiner's attention, and so you won't also have to write much in your paper and write up. Even if the write up is less, with the help of diagrams you can express a lot of things, explain a lot of things. Okay, so that will also save your time, so that's an add-on. So let's start off with the prenatal development, that is Meckel's cartilage. So this is the Meckel's cartilage. It is derived from the first branchial arch. Okay, so actually it contributes in no way to the development of mandible, but yes, it acts as a framework for the development of mandible. And a major part of it, the Meckel's cartilage, it disappears during growth. It has this divided into three parts: proximal, middle, and in the proximal it extends to form the auditory ossicles like incus and malleus, and also forms the sphenomandibular ligament. So this each branchial arch has these five components. Back to embryology: a central cartilage rod that forms the skeleton of the arch, a muscular component, a vascular component, and a neural component. Okay, so the first structure that develops in the primordium or framework of this mandible is the mandibular division of trigeminal nerve. Okay, you can see how the yellow colored Meckel's cartilage is there. There's this inferior alveolar nerve which again divides into incisive and mental branch, and at the division, around the division of incisive and mental branch, you see that blue colored circle, that is the initial site of ossification. Okay, so the ossification center for each half of the mandible is present. It arises in the 6th week of intrauterine life in the area of bifurcation of the inferior alveolar nerve. You can see here the mental and incisive branches. Okay, so from this the ossification spreads dorsally, ventrally, and this forms the body and ramus of the mandible. Okay, so this ossification then stops at the lingula and forms the, and from where the Meckel's cartilage that continues into the malleus and incus and sphenomandibular ligament. So there are two ways by which the bone forms: endochondral and intramembranous. Now in endochondral bone formation, we'll just see the basic difference between the two. In the endochondral bone formation, it is seen in three areas: condylar, coronoid, and mental. So here the cartilage changes into bone, whereas in intramembranous there is direct bone formation. Okay, so now we see the condylar development. Okay, so this separate part here, this is the condylar cartilage. It initially develops as a separate area and later fuses with the mandibular body, and then a part of it still persists like on the this mandibular body. Okay, around the 4th month of intrauterine life. So that was it about the prenatal growth. Even if you mention this much about the prenatal growth, about the Meckel's cartilage, its diagram, and the condylar development, and you can just write these points and elaborate in your own words after you draw the diagrams. Now we see some basic parts. You see, this is mandible, so this is the body or corpus of the mandible. Okay, this is the ramus area. This is the anterior border of the ramus, posterior border of the ramus, and this is the lateral surface of the ramus. And you see this medial surface of ramus, also lingual side. Okay, So anterior border, posterior border of ramus. This is the lateral or towards the buccal side, lateral area. This is medial area inside towards the lingual side. Okay, so again, in case you didn't understand, this is the body or corpus of the mandible. Anterior border of the ramus, posterior border of the ramus. Again, anterior border, posterior border of the ramus, except that this is the medial area, lingual area, and this is the lateral area. So that was it. So let's see the postnatal growth of the mandible. So till now we talked about the prenatal development, about how the metallus cartilage develop, how it acts as a template for the development of the mandible. We saw the condylar development, how it develops separately and then fuses with the bone and still persists as a cap. And we saw some basic terms. So now we'll start off with the postnatal growth of the mandible. So this remodeling occurs in the ramus area. So you see the picture. This is the anterior border of the ramus, posterior border of the ramus, and whenever you see a depression or curvature, you can get a hint that it is a resorptive area. So likewise, on the anterior border of the ramus, there is resorption taking place. Now why this resorption occurs is because we have to make space for the erupting molars here. We have to make a room, create a room for the eruption of molars. So you see this anterior border of the ramus shows a resorption and the posterior border shows deposition. Hence this mandible, it moves posteriorly, it drifts posterior direction. Okay, there's deposition taking place and resorption taking place here. This is why it drifts posteriorly. Okay, now the reason why it drifts posteriorly is because the functions are because it has to accommodate the masticatory muscle, pharyngeal space, and again, like I talked before, make room for the erupting molars. Now we all know that masticatory muscles, they insert over here. Okay, they are placed over the mandible. Various muscles attach on the mandible, insert on the mandible, so it has to accommodate that. Now broader the musculature, broader will be the mandible. We all know that fact. Okay, so again, this anterior resorption is taking place because it has to make room for the erupting molars, and then also it has to accommodate the pharyngeal space, right? So these are the functions of why this remodeling occurs in the ramus area. Okay, so remodeling occurs, posterior direction deposition takes place, anterior border resorption takes place. This results in drift of mandible posteriorly, that is behind. So the function of this accommodation or remodeling is remodeling, that is deposition and resorption occurring of bone. Okay, so the function of this remodeling is because it has to accommodate the masticatory muscles, the pharyngeal space, and accommodate the erupting molars. You see how it is the lateral pharyngeal space present. It is very important for the growth of the occlusion, proper development of occlusion, that the musculature should also be proper. So you see how the muscles are inserting on, and this is the pharyngeal wall. Now we move on to the next, that is corpus or body of the mandible. Okay, so we start off with this area, that is medial area or lingual side area here. This resorption follows this L pattern. See how? You see this is the posterior inferior area, how resorption is taking place, and posterior superior area also the resorption occurs on the medial side. And on this medial surface, you see here, medial surface, lingual side, deposition is taking place. So the resorption on medial or lingual area, it forms an L pattern. Okay, and on the buccal side, you see that this body of the mandible, it shows deposition. The buccal side, in general, the buccal side has, body has, this outer surface has depository surface, and the lingual surface is mostly resorptive surface. So you see this posterior inferior side, deposition taking place, posterior superior, deposition taking place. and here just below the coronoid the resorption is taking place. Okay, so this surface, outer surface, is the lateral area, and this area on the lingual side is the medial area. So usually the lingual or medial area is resorptive. It follows a L pattern, that is posterior inferior. The resorption is taking place in the form of L, posterior superior also, and on this side, that is here, outer lateral side, you see this ramus part. So here you see that coronoid has this resorptive surface, and the posterior superior, posterior inferior, that is in general the outer surface or buccal surface, is depository. Now we move on to the alveolar process. Now we all know the alveolar height of the alveolar process increases, or the bone deposition occurs when the teeth develop, as the teeth start to develop. This is why in complete denture patients we have to do the relining periodically, because resorption is taking place in the edentulous area as there are no teeth. Okay, so no teeth, no development, hence the deposition occurs this way in upward direction. Now lingual tuberosity. You can appreciate in the picture in this mandible that there is this prominent area you can see, right, and a depression, that is lingual fossa, you can see. Okay, so we are talking about that. Okay, so bone remodeling is also seen in lingual tuberosity and lingula. Okay, so this is the major site of growth in the lower arch. Okay, so lingual tuberosity, it protrudes in the lingual direction. So the prominence you see in that region is increased because of the resorptive field just below it. See, like I said, wherever concavities, depressions are present, we can suggest that there is resorption field, resorption taking place, and because of that this prominence increases. Okay, tuberosity, right? That pretty explanatory. So the combination of deposition and tuberosity and resorption below it in the fossa takes place. Okay, so there's this prominence, increase of prominence. Okay, also this deposition in the lingual direction, that is posteriorly, it adds to the corpuscle body of the mandible. You see here, this is the fossa, and also this prominent area present. Okay, so it grows lingually or posteriorly. Okay, so deposition is occurring on the posterior area, and resorption in the fossa area or concavity or depression area. Okay, so that was it about the tuberosity. Now uprighting of ramus. Again, this is very important. Like we already talked in before about the ramus, that how anterior border resorption takes place and on the posterior border deposition takes place. Now this vertically it grows, the ramus it grows vertically. Okay, the angle also, ramus angle also decreases, so without change in breadth. So you can see how, I'll just revise again. You can see how the resorption is taking place on this anterior border. Okay, and deposition is occurring on the posterior border. Now this is how it grows vertically. You see how it is growing vertically. I have superimposed these two images. I hope you can understand this. You cannot see much difference in the breadth. Okay, the breadth is almost same. You have to keep that in mind, except that it is getting aligned and growing vertically upward. Okay, so no change in breadth, only the angle is decreasing of the ramus. Okay, it's decreasing and it is aligning or growing upright and vertically. So now you see that anterior border, okay, where the resorption is taking place, it is greatest in the inferior area than superior, and posterior border also deposition is greatest in the inferior area than superior area. You can see here I have drawn this large number of underscores, dashes. So resorption is taking more in the inferior direction and less in the superior direction. Same way, deposition occurring more in the inferior area and reducing progressively in the superior area. And when this uprighting of ramus takes place, there is no change in breadth of it. Now we start off with the condyle. Now this is the site of growth. Okay, so like we said, talked in the condylar development, we saw how the cartilage still persists on the condyle. So this presence of cartilage to withstand a compression. Now wherever the bone has to undergo or withstand compression, there is endochondral bone formation taking place. Now there are two school of thoughts how the growth of condyle take place. It occurs at the surface of cartilage by bone deposition, and the condyle grows towards the cranial base, and the mandible it gets displaced, that is mandible displaces forward and in downward direction. Okay, and that the growth of muscles and connective tissue, they carry the mandible forward, that is away from the base, called carry away phenomenon. Okay, so this is also how the mandible moves forward and downward because of the growth of muscles and connective tissue. Now Enlow's V principle we apply here. Expanding V principle, this is the condyle, okay, and this is the neck. You can see how progressively the neck is getting reduced. Okay, so the expanding V principle, it also suggests that there is also growth in vertical dimension. Okay, so it is growing vertically also, and the neck is getting reduced progressively. So what the V principle suggests is that there is this V, it suggests that there is deposition on the inside, endosteal deposition, and there is periosteal resorption. Okay, so this the V principle, it suggests this. So likewise you can see that this neck is getting reduced progressively. There is growth in vertical dimension also, and that you can see in this that there is endosteal deposition. Bone is getting deposited here, and it is getting resorbed on the periosteal area or on the outside, and also there is growth in the vertical dimension. So this is the expanding V principle applied to the condyle. Also you see how it is growing towards the cranial base. Okay, it's growing towards the cranial base and also growing in downward and forward direction. Okay, so this downward and forward growth of mandible, it is also influenced by the soft tissue growth, that is muscles and connective tissue. So they carry the mandible forward and away from the cranial base. Okay, and also bone growth forms secondarily at the condyle to maintain that constant contact with the cranial base. And the condylar growth, it increases as puberty, and it reaches a peak at about 12 and 14 years of age, and the growth ceases around 20 years of age. Now chin, this is fully developed in the recent man only. In infancy it is underdeveloped, and with growth, as growth advances, it becomes prominent. Males have generally prominent chin than females. And then there's this mental protuberance. Again I said, any part protruding, bone deposition taking place. Any fossa, concavity, depression, resorption is taking place. So you can see how there is bony mental protuberance or bony deposition that makes it more prominent, and this prominence is accentuated or more increased by the resorption, that's leading to a concavity point that we call B in cephalogram terminology. Okay, so you see this is chin, this is our chin. Okay, you see how a concavity is present, you can even feel it and palpate it. Okay, so there's resorption taking place, and here deposition taking place. This is the lower incisor. Okay, so this is a section of our chin. You see this is the labial bony cortex, right? And hence the resorption is taking place here. And this is the alveolar surface of this bony cortex, and this deposition taking place here. Okay, now this is lingual side of the lingual bony cortex where the deposition is taking place on, and to that alveolar surface of that lingual cortex, you see that there is resorption taking place. Okay, so that was all about chin. Now we move on to the coronoid. Again, the growth of coronoid, it follows the enlarging V principle. The deposition, it occurs on the lingual or medial surface of the left and right coronoid process. Okay, and also as per the expanding V principle, vertical dimension growth is also taking place. So this coronoid process, it has like a propeller twist, and so it shows the signs, it faces the directions posteriorly, superiorly and medially. You can see here. Okay, so again expanding V principle, when we see it occlusally, you see on the medial side, that is inside, deposition taking place. Yes, as per the expanding V principle, onto medial side deposition is taking place. Also there is vertical growth taking place simultaneously, and there is resorption on the outer side. So that is the expanding V principle. When we see it on the through the occlusal aspect, there is a posterior growth. Okay. One more thing that we forgot to talk about is the flaring of angle, or the angle of mandible. You see that the posterior inferior medial area, there is resorption taking place, and out on the outer side there is deposition taking place, and hence this mandible, it flares out with age. Okay, so that was it, all about the development of mandible. In case, or if you like this video, let me know in the comment section below through your likes and shares. Also subscribe to my channel, and in case you want to study about the development of maxilla, let me know in the comment section below. So I hope that helps. Thank you.